The first scene is shown in a great hall attended by many people. Today is the coronation day of the holy son of Taixuan sacred land, and in front of everyone at this time is a young man. The sacred lord then scolded the young man. The sacred lord reprimanded him why he was behaving shamefully like that. Instead of being scared, clenching his fists tightly, the youth then retorted, "Why would Taixuan sacred land, one of the 6 sacred lands in the eastern wilderness, treat its holy maiden in such a bad manner?" They handed her over to a person she had barely even met, without asking her will first. The young man continued, "If they don't give her justice," the young man said that he would no longer be a disciple of Taixuan sacred land. The surrounding disciples were shocked by the young man's attitude. They wondered if he was crazy because he even dared to say that here. Even though he was talented, if he angers the one who came from the upper realms, they were afraid that Taixuan sacred land would be in trouble. Sacred Lord then recalled the young man's name, which was Yi Chen. Sacred Lord asked. He had gone through hundreds of battles before finally being able to join the Taixuan sacred land. Now he said he would give up his status as a disciple in the Taixuan sacred land. Sacred Lord then slammed his hand on the back of the chair until it cracked. It caused a great shockwave around and caused the disciples to be thrown away. But Yi Chen still stood undaunted. He said that he only felt sorry for the holy maiden, and could not just watch her being pushed into the fire pit. A young master who was beside the sacred Lord then reprimanded him. For how dare he say that? Holy maiden then tried to call the name of young master Gu, the person who was currently the subject of conversation. He turned out to be someone who came from another world, or often known as a transmigrator. He transmigrated recently and found this inexplicable situation. And instead of being a protagonist, Gu Changge feels that the body he currently occupies is more like a villain who is always a stepping stone for the protagonist in traditional comics. The difference is that he has a system that he himself does not know what it is used for. The system shows several things, such as identity, physique and bloodline, cultivation, techniques, fate value, fortune value, and system all. Based on this system, he knows that the fortune level is divided into several colors. From the bottom is red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and purple. The average ordinary person only had a red fortune value. He also saw that Yi Chen's fortune value was green. He lamented that because he felt that Yi Chen was really the fortune chosen, while his own fortune value was black, which meant that he was really an unlucky person. It was said that villains would not live long, and the black fortune value always reminded him of that. Yi Chen then asked Gu Changge not to be silent and told him to say something. The young master again reprimanded him, because how dare he call young master Gu's name just like that. One of the elders also said to him, that today he had provoked the sect in front of everyone here. He really had evil intentions, and the disciples around also thought that Yi Chen had committed a crime for speaking harshly to Gu Changge. Yi Chen was confused by this situation and wondered why everyone was siding with Gu Changge. He was the best talent in the sect, so he felt that he was the future of this sect. He was also confused when he saw that the holy maiden named Changge did not say anything in his defense. While Gu Changge just smiled dismissively, he felt happy that everyone was against Yi Chen. Yi Chen then said to Gu Changge, does he think he can pretend to be calm without saying anything, other than bullying others? What else can he do? The Holy Lord is now really furious with Yi Chen's attitude and said that he really needs to be taught a lesson. While coating his hands with lightning, the young master then proposed to beat Yi Chen and make him apologize to Gu Changge. He then moved towards Yi Chen. Yi Chen, whose emotions were already unstable, was instead happy that there was finally someone he could beat up. Yi Chen coated his fist with fire, after which their attacks finally clashed. The clash between their attacks produced a powerful shockwave to the surrounding area. The person who fought Yi Chen turned out to be Holy Son Xuanhuan. Seeing the fight, the people around underestimated Yi Chen, because Xuanhuan was just one step away from reaching the transcendent realm, while Yi Chen himself was still in the Soul Palace realm. They felt that Xuanhuan would win this fight. Gu Changge thought they were too naive, and thought that Yi Chen couldn't even win a fight this simple. He wasn't worthy of being called Fortune's Chosen. And as he expected, Yi Chen won the clash. He even slightly underestimated Xuanhuan. The Holy Lord was surprised to see that. While the female disciples praised Yi Chen for being able to defeat Xuanhuan even with a lower cultivation realm than him, they also thought Yi Chen was very handsome. But they were then told to shut up by their seniors, for fear of being mistaken as intending to fight young Master Gu. The result of this battle was as Gu Changge had expected. He guessed that the purpose of Yi Chen's action seemed to be to prevent Taixuan Sacred Lord's daughter from marrying him. And looking at Changge's 350 yellow fortune value, it was certain that she was a heroine in this world. When coming to that conclusion, Gu Changge only smiled slightly. He then asked Changge beside him, who seemed to always believe in Yi Chen. Changge was surprised by Gu Changge's sudden question, and could only remain silent. Seeing her insisting on remaining calm, made him think, If she had a special relationship with Yi Chen, would she be afraid of him going against Yi Chen? While drinking his drink he then said, "What a smart woman." He then asked Su Changge to fill his empty cup, but Su Changge couldn't fill it properly, which resulted in the tea spilling everywhere. She felt very nervous at this time, which resulted in her hands shaking. Gu Changge said that he was neither a tiger nor a wolf, and asked why she was so nervous. Su Changge simply replied that she was not nervous. While holding her hand, Gu Changge then told her to leave this to the servants, because the tea was very hot. He was worried that her hand would be scalded. The system suddenly rang. There was a slight change in Su Changge's heart. The protagonist's fortune value, Yi Chen, was reduced by 10. Gu Changge was surprised to hear this, and on his head there was also a +10 symbol at this time. Yi Chen, who saw that, felt very angry at him, for how dare he treat Su Changge like that. Gu Changge just laughed at this situation, and felt that it was about to get even more interesting. Angrily, Yi Chen then told him to remove his hand from Su Changge right now. But Xuanhuan told Yi Chen that his opponent was him. Yi Chen, who heard that, was then furious that someone was blocking him, and threatened Xuanhuan to kill him even if he was a holy son. Seeing this situation, Gu Changge thought, if things continued like this, he was afraid that Yi Chen could overcome all obstacles and defeat Xuanhuan. After that, Yi Chen would buy time to improve his condition and cultivation. With his cultivation talent, a few years later Yi Chen could come to him for revenge, and at that time he would definitely die. With a faint smile, Gu Changge thought, but he was a transmigrator. How could he not know this classical drama? He couldn't let this happen. He couldn't put his life in the hands of this stupid script. Gu Changge suddenly said how boring this was. He then stood up and approached Yi Chen. The people there were surprised by Gu Changge's sudden movement. Gu Changge said, since this matter was related to him, he wouldn't involve Xuanhuan. Yi Chen said that he was not afraid of him at all, but Gu Changge told Yi Chen that his courage was nothing but his stupidity. Gu Changge then released his aura. It made Xuanhuan fall down, but Yi Chen was still able to stand up even with difficulty, even still managed to provoke him. Gu Changge then increased the intensity of his aura. It succeeded in making Yi Chen kneel down. Gu Changge then told him to say what he said earlier once again. The surrounding disciples were shocked by Gu Changge's aura, which could be so strong that it made them tremble. Su Changge was currently in deep shock to the point of breaking out in cold sweat. Gu Changge's aura had made it difficult for her to even stand up. Sacred Lord had already expected this. A man from the upper realm, at such a young age, he already possessed such strength. Sacred Lord thought that Gu Changge should not be offended. The system rang. Yi Chen lost 10 fortune value due to being publicly humiliated, while the host gained 50 fate value. He did not expect that doing so could increase his fate value, because fate value could also be used to increase the level of techniques. It would naturally increase his cultivation realm as well. He then asked the system, if he killed Yi Chen now, how much fate value would he get? But the system replied that people who had great fortune would be protected by heavens. With the fortune that Gu Changge currently had, the system said it would be difficult for him to kill Yi Chen. Gu Changge then realized, that means offending fortunes chosen will make his luck bad. It's only fitting that his luck is black. The system said, fortune is a factor that cannot be predicted and explained. It is not difficult to kill Yi Chen with his current strength, but it will trigger a series of unknown variables, because he is the biggest variable. Gu Changge then confirmed, in other words, although he can't kill him, but he can reduce his fortune by suppressing it. When the time comes, he can do it, right? The system confirmed, and it also applies to those who have a close relationship with the protagonist. Gu Changge thought that like this, forcing Su Changge to influence Yi Chen wouldn't work either. The Holy Lord then laughed while stroking his beard. He praised Gu Changge for having such strong strength despite being so young. The elders also praised him. His breath alone made them tremble with fear, and regarded Gu Changge as a god among men. They feel that the Taixuan sacred land that has been inherited for tens of thousands of years and has a territory of thousands of miles is already a dominant force in the world, but today, they realize that there are always people stronger than you. Hearing the praise of all of them, Gu Changge tried to be humble. If his strength that they all praised was really not worth mentioning. Xuanhuan also apologized to him, for not being able to solve Yi Chen, and made him go down personally. Gu Changge didn't mind that. Seeing Yi Chen, who was still silent there, they asked why he hadn't apologized yet, and felt that he really didn't know what was good and bad for himself. Yi Chen, who heard that, was confused and angry, and again blamed Gu Changge for the situation that happened to him. He then sneak attacked him. The elders were shocked and panicked to see that, because how dare Yi Chen attack Gu Changge? But what made Yi Chen confused was, his attack could not reach Gu Changge at all. His body seemed to have been enveloped by an invisible barrier. Gu Changge underestimated Yi Chen. He then slapped him, which made him knocked into a pillar. Su Changge felt worried seeing his situation. Yi Chen was then approached by the elders. For ignoring the sect rules and fighting the guest of honor several times, his cultivation would be blocked and he would be sent to the underground prison. He would wait there until young Master Gu made a decision. The disciples mocked him again. He had already been given a chance by young Master Gu, but he sneaked attacked him instead. They considered Yi Chen a disgrace, and felt that Taixuan Sacred Land's face had been disgraced by him. And when Yi Chen was captured, he shouted for them to let him go. Because he was the sect's most talented disciple, he was the sect's hope. Gu Changge simply ignored Yi Chen's cries. He then quickly approached Gu Changge, and invited her to see the moon at night today. Gu Changge was surprised to hear that, and before she could reply, her father laughed and praised Gu Changge for still having such grace despite what had happened. He said that his daughter would definitely happily accept his invitation. Yi Chen, who saw that, could only call out Gu Changge's name. Sacred Lord then stared intently at his daughter, and said that the future of their sect for the next 100 years was in Gu Changge's hands. She must not mess it up, until Gu Changge finally accepted Gu Changge's invitation. Yi Chen, who saw that, was incredulous and angry to the point of vomiting blood. The system rang. Yi Chen's heart had been broken. He lost 100 fortune value, while the host gained 500 fate value. Gu Changge finally realized how the system worked. Although it was a little troublesome, the process was slowly dragging the protagonist to death, but he felt that it was fun. At night, when the moon was shining so beautifully, there was a mysterious figure who was eavesdropping on the conversation between the Sacred Lord and his daughter. The Sacred Lord said that he knew that his daughter was interested in Yi Chen, but they could only resign themselves to this situation. Gu Changge understood what her father was doing, because compared to the benefits provided by Gu Changge, Yi Chen was nothing. She told her father not to worry, and said she would visit him first. After hearing this, the mysterious figure suddenly disappeared from his place. He turned out to be Gu Changge's messenger. He asked if he found anything. While kneeling down, the mysterious figure reported, as Gu Changge suspected, Taixuan Sacred Lord called Gu Changge and said his complaint. Taixuan Sacred Land is known as the strongest place in the world, but in fact, their strongest elder had died 300 years ago, but the news was still unknown to the outside world. That's why Taixuan Sacred Land is now in dire need of Gu Changge's support. Besides, the wife of Taixuan Sacred Lord is a noble lady of the upper realms. Back then she was captured by her family's army. He seems to want to use her daughter in melting down Gu Changge, in order to find the whereabouts of his wife. Gu Changge laughed a little at that. Since his guess was correct, he then ordered the mysterious figure to go watch Yi Chen, who was in the underground prison. The mysterious figure asked about Gu Changge, who seemed to be very interested in Yi Chen. Gu Changge said that Yi Chen was endowed with great fortune, and could generate many opportunities for him. The mysterious figure understood. He then went to carry out his orders. Gu Changge himself felt that it was indeed a bit greedy to keep two characters with great fortune. Unfortunately, this was not as easy as it seemed. He could not harvest them now, no matter how much he wanted to. He then opened the system. The system rang. He had successfully completed the face slap quest on the first day, and he now got the reward. When he opened the reward, he got 3 items, including Domain Breaker, 5-color robe, and the broken one of 3 the world seeds. Gu Changge wondered about the use of the last one. The system explained, after the complete world seed was refined, the user could create a world within his body, obtain peerless fortune, and become destiny itself. He raised his eyebrows upon hearing that, and felt that this was interesting because it could create a world within his body. If he could collect them all, he wondered who else could kill him in this world. He then requested the system to use all of his points to improve his cultivation technique. Gu Changge's cultivation improvement caused an extremely powerful phenomenon to the surroundings, his purplish aura even penetrating into the sky. The Taixuan Sacred Land disciples were shocked when they saw Gu Changge's terrifying aura. The Sacred Lord himself was even shocked when he saw it, and while Gu Changge was looking at the phenomenon, a transparent soul suddenly appeared nearby. The soul had the exact same appearance as her. The soul then tried to influence Gu Changge to prefer Gu Changge, because from any perspective, he was much more attractive than Yi Chen. She and Gu Changge were 2 souls in one body, so she understood her. Gu Changge immediately turned away from her and told her to be silent. The soul was annoyed by that. As a result of his breakthrough, Gu Changge's cultivation was now at the Sacred Emperor realm. He felt amazing, because the progress that should have been cultivated for days, but was successfully broken through in one go. The immortal Taoist code technique that Gu Changge learned only broke through 1 layer, although it had consumed all his fate points. He felt that the level of this technique was quite high, but he didn't care too much about it. After all, he had a system. There would be more fate points in the future. He then laughed mockingly at Yi Chen, although he looked pitiful when he had cultivated with all his might, but it felt very delicious when he squeezed his fortune. With a sadistic smile, Gu Changge hoped that Yi Chen would be able to contribute more fortune. If his fortune was harvested too soon, then his death would arrive. Inside the prison cell, Yi Chen suddenly sneezed. He wondered what it was about. He also thought, for the past 3 years, no matter what challenges he faced, he could always overcome everything. Since when did he experience this kind of bad humiliation? While punching the prison wall, he angrily called Gu Changge's name. A female figure with a red aura enveloping her suddenly came out of the ring Yi Chen was wearing. She was Yi Chen's master. Yi Chen then asked his master, "Where has she been all this time? Why didn't she come out to help him earlier?" The master said that at that time she felt the presence of a very strong spirit. She suspected that it had something to do with the enemy behind her downfall. That's why she didn't dare to appear. She also told Yi Chen not to act so rashly, but Yi Chen felt unacceptable about it. He couldn't just let Xuanhuan go. Her body was, but Yi Chen's words were cut off by his master. She told Yi Chen not to talk about this out loud. His master said that this matter needed to be discussed in the long run. Gu Changge not only has a terrifying origin, he also has a strong guard behind him. She advised Yi Chen not to fight him openly, but instead of accepting his master's advice, Yi Chen said that he was just a little unlucky when fighting Gu Changge earlier. The master thinks that Yi Chen is still not mature enough. He should learn from his carelessness, instead of being arrogant. The master then said that their top priority right now was to get him out of this situation, but she could feel that there were many powerful people in this underground prison. With a big smile, Yi Chen said that he had an idea. The master was puzzled by that. Yi Chen then said, the reason why Taixuan Sacred Land could continue to control dragon veins for hundreds of years was due to the Supreme Elder's strength in overcoming other sects. However, what outsiders did not know was that the Supreme Elder had passed away 300 years ago. With a ghastly smile, he then suggested to his master to spread this news, so that the sects who had long wanted the dragon veins would invade this place simultaneously. Then he could escape amidst the chaos. The master hesitated, because if that happened, Taixuan Sacred Land would be annihilated. After all, they were the ones who had taken care of Yi Chen for many years. But Yi Chen quickly said that he didn't care about that. He felt that they were the ones who had treated him badly in the first place. He just wanted them to feel the consequences for insulting him. What the two of them didn't know was that all their talks had been overheard by Gu Changge's messenger. The messenger wondered if there was an opportunity that Gu Changge was talking about that powerful soul remnant. At night, on top of a cliff in Taixuan Sacred Land, there was a pavilion standing there. Gu Changge was currently telling Xuanhuan about the upper realm. She felt interested in the upper realm Gu Changge told her about and asked if the upper realm was really that big. The soul then appeared and again influenced her to prefer Gu Changge over Yi Chen. To Xuanhuan's question, Gu Changge simply replied, why didn't she go and witness it personally? Xuanhuan just assumed that Gu Changge was joking, because without the power of pseudo-god realm, it was impossible for her to break through the barrier, right now, let alone to reach the upper realm. Most strong people in the eastern region Holy Land only reached the half-step Sacred Emperor realm. Gu Changge then said that reaching the pseudo-god realm is not that difficult. If she can get to the upper realm, she will know that the pseudo-god realm is really not what she imagined. Xuanhuan suddenly said, if she was in the upper realm, would he be able to protect her? Gu Changge then asked her what she meant. Xuanhuan said in a humble tone, that she was willing to serve Gu Changge at any time. The system rang. Xuanhuan's attitude had changed, and Yi Chen's fortune value had been reduced by 40, the host's fate value had increased by 200. He was a little surprised by that, and wondered if the changes between the characters connected to the fortunes chosen could also remove his fortune value, and could make his gain fate value. He thought, at this rate, things will get easier. He then said to Xuanhuan about her rapidly changing attitude, and asked, did she sacrifice herself so that he could let Yi Chen go? Xuanhuan was very surprised to hear that, and frantically said, if that's not what she meant, she knows that she is still not worthy of his eyes. She did this just to show her sincerity, and has nothing to do with today's incident. Gu Changge then asked her again, about Yi Chen who was so infatuated about her, not even hesitating to break ties with Sacred Land for her sake. Is this her way of repaying that? Xuanhuan said, that there is nothing she can do to solve Yi Chen's problem. For the sake of the sect and her father, nothing is more important. She then told Gu Changge a fact, that she has the mysterious 9 maiden physique. She said except for her, no one knows. The system rang. Xuanhuan started to show her heart. Yi Chen's fortune value decreased by 40. The host's fate value increased by 200. Gu Changge was very surprised when Xuanhuan told him about her physique. It was known as the best human cauldron. He didn't expect that she would tell him that. Summing up the conditions in Taixuan Sacred Land with Gu Changge's identity. Xuanhuan belongs to a woman who considers the situation thoroughly, Even she knows how to make smart choices. Gu Changge laughed inwardly, and felt that being a villain was cool too, being able to enjoy peaches while cutting the grass. While he was deep in thought, Gu Changge tried to call out to him. Gu Changge then asked her if she was sure about telling him that. While clenching her fist, Gu Changge said that her family was built based on the hard work of her ancestors. The value of her life was insignificant in comparison. While blushing, she said, as long as Gu Changge is willing to help Taixuan's sacred land out of trouble, she is willing to surrender to him. Hearing that, Gu Changge laughed inwardly, and asked the system, since she took the initiative to surrender to him, if he eats her now, he won't receive any backlash, right? But the system said, if he got too far into the state of fortune between Gu Changge and Yi Chen, then there was a possibility of him getting a backlash from fortune. Gu Changge was annoyed when he heard that. He then asked Gu Changge if she told her secret so easily, wasn't she afraid that he would leak it? Gu Changge said that she believed him, but Gu Changge suddenly stood up and said that he would act as if he had never heard of her having a rare physique. If she wanted to impress him because of that, they should end their conversation here. Seeing Gu Changge about to leave, Gu Changge frantically called out to him, and just as she was about to reach out to Gu Changge, her hand was suddenly swatted away by him. Gu Changge said that she should respect herself. Gu Changge was confused and surprised to hear that. The soul suddenly appeared. She chuckled and said that Gu Changge was really very difficult to understand. Even people who were straight to the point could not attract his interest. Gu Changge was silent for a moment hearing that. After she thought about it further, Gu Changge had not done anything wrong today, but she was already prejudiced that he was a bad person. She wondered if this was the result of accusing him. The system rang. Gu Changge had changed her view. Fortune value increased by 20, and fate value increased by 100. Gu Changge was astonished to hear that, and wondered if Gu Changge was trying to clear her head by blaming herself. He also thought that it was time to harvest Yi Chen directly. When he arrived at the prison, his messenger reported, as he guessed that behind Yi Chen there was indeed a strong residual soul. Gu Changge appreciated the performance of the messenger. He then looked towards Yi Chen, who was currently still in the prison cell. Yi Chen was furious with Gu Changge's arrival, and asked what he was here for. Gu Changge said, he came here of course to see him, more precisely to meet the master behind him. Hearing that, Yi Chen frantically dodged, and said that he didn't have such a master. Gu Changge told him to stop dodging. He could tell just by looking at his face. He then asked if Yi Chen's master wanted to continue hiding, because that really didn't reflect a strong person at all. And when Yi Chen's master appeared, he said that she didn't plan on becoming Gu Changge's enemy, so there was no reason for him to humiliate his remaining soul like this. Gu Changge said that she misunderstood. He just wanted to know about who taught that fool Yi Chen to reach such heights. Gu Changge didn't expect that it wasn't an old grandpa but a young lady who appeared. Hearing Gu Changge's words, Yi Chen then asked him, who did he call a fool? Gu Changge then said, since ancient times it is said that birds choose the best trees to survive, and good vassals choose to work for the best master, he asked, if she stays with Yi Chen, wouldn't that be wasting her abilities? The master was aware that Gu Changge was sowing discord at the moment. Yi Chen angrily cursed him as shameless. Not only did he take Changge from him, even now he brazenly wanted to usurp the master. Gu Changge just smiled at Yi Chen's words. He said that he didn't do anything to Gu Changge, because from the beginning she herself voluntarily surrendered to him. Yi Chen didn't believe what Gu Changge said, and thought that it was all bullshit. Gu Changge then stretched his hand towards the bars while chanting poetic words. He then destroyed the cell that had held Yi Chen all this time. He continued to say, if he really wanted the best for his master, he shouldn't have held her back. As he stepped into the cell, he asked him if he thought the remaining souls could live in this world forever. Gu Changge then invites Master Yi Chen to follow him. He will not only help restore her physical body, he will even bring her back to his prime like before. Hearing that, Yi Chen then gets angry and says that this matter is between him and his master. If Gu Changge keeps bragging, he threatens to rip his mouth out. The system rings. Yi Chen's mental state is getting worse. His fortune value decreases by 20, and the host's fate value increases by 100. Gu Changge feels happy that his plan has succeeded. He again said that she must have realized that, regardless of background, in other respects he was much better than Yi Chen. Gu Changge knew that Yi Chen could give her an aura that could protect her soul, but judging from the current development, Gu Changge asked, wasn't he just a cage to her? Hearing that, Yi Chen frantically asked his master not to listen to Gu Changge's rubbish, because he felt that he must be lying to her. The master felt confused, because with Gu Changge's strength, he should be able to kill Yi Chen easily. Why did he want to keep provoking him? Either he was too worried or he wanted to pull her out. She honestly felt that Gu Changge didn't do anything wrong. On the contrary, It was Yi Chen who insisted on making trouble with him from the start. Gu Changge then asked if she had thought about it, but she refused Gu Changge's invitation. Because she had accepted Yi Chen's kindness during the crisis, she certainly wouldn't leave him now. Yi Chen was very happy when he heard that. Gu Changge then gave her time to reconsider. If she changed her mind, Gu Changge promised not to prolong the trouble Yi Chen made in offending him. It is not impossible for Taixuan Sacred Land to cancel his punishment and restore his position to the original. As for Su Changge, Gu Changge said that he could also reward her. Yi Chen felt angry hearing that. The master again refused. She understood his good intentions, but she asked Gu Changge not to say anything more. Gu Changge then asked him to think about it again, and before leaving, he said that he had a present for her. Gu Changge then took out a small box, and when she opened it, how surprised she was, because what was in the box was an ancient spiritual medicine, the mind convergence pill. Yi Chen suddenly screamed. He now understood everything. Gu Changge not only humiliated him, but also wanted to snatch everything from him. And what surprised him the most was that his trusted master compromised with the enemy because of a pill. The master was surprised to hear that, then reprimanded him, because all she did was to help him get out of here. Yi Chen then replied, because the master said so. Then spread the news as he said earlier. The master was confused by Yi Chen's attitude. She then relented, because Yi Chen did insist she would obey him. Yi Chen was happy to hear that, and felt that his master was the best. He knew that his master would not leave him alone. After that, the master then disappeared in front of him. The system rang. Because of the rift between Yi Chen and his master, Yi Chen's fortune value was reduced by 80 and the host's fate value increased by 400. Gu Changge was currently looking out the window. The messenger, or with the real name Old Ming, asked Gu Changge if all he needed was the remaining soul remnant. Why not just kill Yi Chen? Gu Changge then reminded Old Ming again about their purpose to the lower real. Old Ming then realized, and asked, was it because of the absolute evil weapon? Gu Changge replied yes, this is for the sake of the ancient weapon demon god of the desolate 8 desolate demon halberd. He thought, if this was according to the regular plot line, Yi Chen would have accidentally entered the ancient ruins due to his luck, and got the evil weapon's approval at the last second, after which he would brandish his halberd at the Taixuan Sacred Land to completely reverse the situation. But now, Yi Chen can only be his treasure-seeking rat. He then told Old Ming to keep an eye on Yi Chen. He himself would rest for a while. Old Ming understood him and respectfully left. Gu Changge then opened the shop system. The shop system was divided into 3 categories, including divine talents, arts techniques, and supporting items. He then clicked on the art techniques section. There he saw a lot of good techniques, but with his current fate value, he could not buy most of them. He was surprised to see that a heavenly level technique that allowed the user to directly cultivate into the pseudo-god realm was only priced at 50 fate value, and after looking around he finally found what he was looking for. That thing was primordial spirit technique, innate divine chant. For 1000 fate points, a golden light suddenly shone on his forehead. 3 days later, outside Taixuan Sacred Land, there were a lot of cultivators present there, riding on a flying monsters. The leaders of them were Zhao Tian from Yangshu Sacred Land, Chu Wuji from Great Sun Dynasty, and Xiao Huo from Xiao Ancient Family. They said that they came to visit Taixuan Sacred Lord. While flying, the Sacred Lord mocked their attitude. When the 3 half-step Sacred Emperor realm experts personally led his troops to come here, Xiao Huo laughed, and said to Sacred Lord Su Taixuan, that he doesn't need to talk rubbish anymore. Taixuan Sacred Land has depended on Su Taishang to occupy the spiritual veins for many years. Now he is gone, so isn't it time for their sect to enjoy the spiritual veins as well? Zhao Tian replied, since they are all the top sects of the eastern wilderness, it's good if he gives up the spiritual veins and drops 1 level below. He promised to definitely give him a way out. Otherwise, Su Taixuan angrily said, if the spiritual veins have been the foundation of his sect for thousands of years, and they want him to give them up, do they think a bunch of hypocrites like them can oppress his sect? Seeing Su Taixuan's uncooperative attitude, Chu Wuji then took out his artifact, which was in the form of a multi-story pagoda. He didn't think that Taixuan Holy Land could compete with the 3 of them. Su Taixuan broke out in a cold sweat slightly. He was confused as to how they got the news, but the 3 of them couldn't think that they were weak without the Supreme Elder, and there was nothing else they could rely on. Su Changge shockedly called her father. Su Taixuan then asked his daughter about Gu Changge, whether she had surrendered to him. Su Changge stammeringly said that last time she acted too hastily to make Gu Changge dislike her. Now she was not sure whether Gu Changge would help them or not. Su Taixuan was upset to hear that. Zhao Tian heard that the sacred land of Taixuan had some connections with the upper world. He was worried about it. Chu Wuji told him to stop worrying, because the upper world had been separated from their world for a long time. Did this Su Taixuan have such abilities? Moreover, With the imperial weapons of the Great Sun Empire, he said that he was able to deal with it even if it was dealing with the Sacred Emperor realm. They were both surprised when they saw the imperial weapons, because as far as they knew it had been destroyed during the Millennium War. Su Taixuan nervously looked at the imperial weapon that Chu Wuji took out. He thought that if Gu Changge didn't come out of seclusion, he could have met his end here. Su Changge suddenly said to her father that she would ask Gu Changge for help now. And when Su Changge left, Chu Wuji then said to Su Taixuan, did he really want his sect to be destroyed just because of the spiritual veins? Su Taixuan told him to cut down on his crap. Chu Wuji was annoyed with Su Taixuan's stubbornness, and said if he wanted to die now, then he would be granted immediately. Chu Wuji then used the imperial weapons to attack him. The pagoda suddenly enlarged with a golden aura enveloping it, but they were then surprised when there was a terrible purple aura enveloping them all. They wondered who this aura came from. Xiaohuo thought that this primordial spirit power was equivalent to the sacred sovereign realm. He was confused instead of Su Taishang being long dead. The aura certainly came from Gu Changge. He was amazed and wondered if this was primordial spirit power. He also knew about the presence of everyone outside. With a smile, he then said, let the show begin. And just as she was about to reach Gu Changge's residence, Su Changge thought that the aura explosion earlier must have made the sect leaders a little scared. Her father should be able to hold them until she could bring Gu Changge out. But her mouth was suddenly closed by someone from behind her. That person was Yi Chen. She asked him how he got out of prison. While holding her hand, Yi Chen said he would explain it later. Now he would take her out away from the Taixuan Holy Land. But his hand was suddenly brushed off by her. She said that she would not leave the Taixuan Sacred Land. Hearing that, Yi Chen anxiously said to Su Changge, why is she so stubborn? Does she think Gu Changge will really be able to save the Taixuan Sacred Land alone? With a frightening expression, Yi Chen continued, or, she was already forced to serve Gu Changge. Hearing that, Su Changge then snapped at him. She said that Gu Changge never did that to her. She was the one who offered herself to him, with the intention to exchange with the peace of the Taixuan Holy Land. Yi Chen was confused and shocked hearing her words. While shedding tears she then continued, was he satisfied when he finished taking all her dignity from her? What made him think that she would betray the sect and go with him? Why also did he think that young Master Gu was a bad person? Moreover, they had trained Yi Chen for 10 years in Taixuan Sacred Land. She thought when the time came he would help them. She then said to Yi Chen that his selfishness and attitude was really very disgusting. The master told Yi Chen to just leave here, but Yi Chen didn't care about his master's order at all. He was currently so shocked that he felt his world had been shattered. He muttered that she must not be the Changge he knew. Gu Changge must have used some kind of spell won her. Gu Changge was happy at this time, because the system rang. If Yi Chen's relationship was finally cut off with the heroine, he lost 50 chi luck points and the host gained 250 destiny points. He felt that the time had come. And when Gu Changge was about to open the door, the two of them were both surprised. Su Changge thought not to let Gu Changge see him together with Yi Chen. She then attacked him using her sword. Yi Chen was shocked when he saw Su Changge's sudden attack, and could not do anything until the sword pierced his body. He really could not believe what he saw. The master again told him to leave here. Su Changge apologized to him, but she had to eliminate the relationship between the two of them. Although he had been hit by Su Changge, but Yi Chen was then able to heal the wound easily, because Su Changge deliberately did not target the vital point. With a hateful look, Yi Chen then said goodbye. Right after that, Gu Changge suddenly called her from behind. She was surprised by it, then said that she had disappointed him. But Gu Changge said that she had done well, but he felt that when she met Yi Chen again in the future, the situation would be endless. He asked if she didn't regret it. Su Changge said that she didn't regret it. She had decided to follow him. She realized that sooner or later it would happen. Gu Changge then stroked the back of her head, which made her blush. Gu Changge suddenly hugged her and said that from now on, all her affairs would be his as well. Su Changge was so surprised by Gu Changge's sudden action that she dropped her sword. Gu Changge thought, since Su Changge's relationship has been broken with Yi Chen, then in the future he no longer needs to keep his distance from her. After all, she still has a great fortune. It won't matter as long as she can be useful to him. The system rang. He had triggered the fortune event. The host's fortune value increased by 60 and his fate value increased by 300. Gu Changge then realized another way of getting points other than pressing fortunes chosen, which is by conquering the heart of the person endowed with great fortune. Su Changge then said to him that she came here because there was an urgent matter that needed his help. Gu Changge said that he already knew what happened. He then calmed her down. With him, they would not be a threat at all. Su Taixuan is currently frantically waiting for Gu Changge's arrival. Zhao Tian then said to him, if they don't want to make this matter worse, if the Supreme Elder is still there, why doesn't he let them see it? Su Teixuan said, although he didn't know where they got the news about this, it was true that the Supreme Elder had died. Zhao Tian hesitated. Then what was that primordial spirit fluctuation just now? Xuanhuan told him to stop pretending, because they would know when they saw it in person. A terrifying aura suddenly pressed towards them. The aura came from Gu Changge, who had reached there while embracing Gu Changge. He then asked, where are the barbarians who have disturbed his peace? Seeing Gu Changge's arrival, Xuanhuan, instead of being scared, laughed at them. He mocked Su Teixuan, whether Teixuan's sacred land had fallen this low, and could only rely on a brat. Hearing that, Su Teixuan just smiled, and advised him to take back his words, because this young master was not someone he could insult at all. Xuanhuan ignored Su Teixuan's words. He then immediately moved towards them, and attacked towards Gu Changge by enveloping his body using a golden tiger-shaped aura, and when his attack hit Gu Changge, how surprised he was, when his attack could be easily resisted by him. Gu Changge then twisted his hand and pushed him forward. The three of them were surprised to see that, and did not expect that Gu Changge reached the Sacred Emperor realm at such a young age. Chu Wuji then came forward while carrying his imperial weapon. He praised Gu Changge for having a great talent, but he must know the name of patience. He didn't care where he came from, and advised Gu Changge, it was better for him not to interfere in this matter. While cleaning the dust on his clothes, Gu Changge said that from now on, the matter of Teixuan Holy Land was also his business. Su Changge and his father were very happy to hear that. Chu Wuji, who heard that, was furious, and said, since he insisted on seeking death, don't blame him for being cruel. The three of them then decided to attack together. Xuanhuan this time attacked using a golden sword, while Zhao Tian took out his blue sword. And when Xuanhuan swung his sword at Gu Changge, the attack was easily blocked by him, but it didn't stop there. Zhao Tian then attacked him from a different side, but the attack was also easily blocked by him. And when Chu Wuji's attack was about to hit Gu Changge, they both immediately moved away from him. There wasn't the slightest sign of panic on Gu Changge's face, but Su Changge, who saw the attack, felt worried about him. Chu Wuji laughed and mocked him. No matter how talented he is, there are many talented people throughout history, but only a few can grow to adulthood. Xuanhuan also said, don't think with his sacred emperor realm can defeat the three of them at once alone. Su Changge frantically asked her father for help. Su Teixuan was annoyed at their attack. Had it not been for Chu Wuji's imperial weapon, how could they have won against Gu Changge? After feeling that they had won, Chu Wuji asked Su Teixuan, did he have any last words? Xuanhuan suggested not to mince words. Just go in and take over the spiritual veins. But they were then surprised when they saw the imperial weapon showing signs of cracking. Chu Wuji was incredulous when he saw this. The golden light then enveloped the imperial weapon, until finally the imperial weapon was destroyed from the inside. While enveloped in a purple and red aura, Gu Changge then came out from behind the wreckage of the imperial weapon, and said to them, if they look at the whole world, there are higher hierarchies, and stronger people. No matter how many sects the lower realm has, they probably won't have many experts in the Sacred Lord realm. Purple light suddenly appeared on Gu Changge's finger. He then continued, the Sacred Sovereign realm was even rarer, being only one level below the pseudo-god realm. They were all just lowly ants. He then charged towards them using a slashing motion with his finger. They felt panic seeing the attack, and tried to defend as much as they could. Gu Changge's attack was able to finish off all the troops they brought. Su Changge and her father were both shocked and couldn't believe what they saw. The three of them were dumbfounded when they saw all the troops they brought were all gone. Xuanhuan asked Chu Wuji, didn't he just say he was able to face the Sacred Emperor realm? Chu Wuji just fell silent hearing that, and when he was about to attack back, he suddenly coughed up blood. He then asked Gu Changge, who exactly is he? While pointing his finger upwards, Gu Changge then said, one with an infinite lifespan, a god from the upper realm. Half a month later, in the outskirts of Zhangzhou, the people there were shocked by the news of the arrival of people from the upper realm. Because it was very difficult to ascend to the upper realm since ancient times, it was even more impossible for anyone to descend to the lower realm. This goes against the laws of the universe. But the truth was, the young master admitted it himself. They also heard that the young master destroyed the entire elite army of the three sects in the Teixuan Holy Land with a single attack. Even the imperial weapons of the Great Sun Empire were able to be destroyed. They sighed about the good fortune of Teixuan Holy Land, especially after their supreme elder died. They actually found another big guy. A fat man then said, didn't they rely on Su Teixuan's daughter? Su Changge is known as the #1 woman in the eastern wilderness. They all laughed after hearing the fat man's words. One of the men with pimples on his face said that he was thinking about the disciple named Yi Chen. They just laughed at that, and told him not to bring it up again. They felt that Yi Chen just wanted to usurp the young master's position in order to fight for the holy maiden. As a result, he was scared to the point that he couldn't move. Did such a person deserve the most beautiful woman in the eastern region? They then laughed out loud after hearing that. But they were then confused when they saw a red circle under their feet. The circle came from the robed man who was behind them. The man then said the word burn, which resulted in the emergence of a very powerful fire that burned them. The residents there were surprised by the sudden appearance of the fire. The man turned out to be Yi Chen. He promised that he would avenge the humiliation that Taixuan Holy Land and Gu Changge had given him hundreds of times over in the future. In a place with many magnificent buildings standing there, it is the Taixuan Sacred Land. The sacred lord Su Taixuan is now holding a banquet for their success in overcoming the calamity. With a laugh they said that the Taixuan Holy Land is now in its full momentums, so in the future they will rely more on him, the Holy Lord of Taixuan. Su Taixuan humbly accepted their praise and said, after all, they must thank young Master Gu for his mercy. Chu Wuji quickly agreed. Thanks to young Master Gu's kindness back then, they can still be alive now. They also said that from now on their three sects will be led by Taixuan Sacred Land. They will be willing to go through hardships together. Su Changge laughed happily at their behavior. Gu Changge was puzzled by it. Su Changge told him that they had lived for thousands of years, but their behavior changed like a 3-year-old child. Gu Changge then understood, and said that she liked it, just let them play for a while. A servant suddenly came to the two of them. The servant said that the third prince of the Daxia dynasty from Zhongzhou sent out a letter of invitation, inviting talented disciples from all over the world to discuss the Tao. Gu Changge was confused about what the Daxia dynasty was. Su Changge explained. The imperial power in Zhongzhou had an unexpected background. It was even said that thousands of years ago there was a strong man who ascended to the upper realms. Then on the day of the third prince's birth, his cries were heard 3,000 miles away, which showed how talented he was. Zhongzhou reminded Gu Changge of Yi Chen. He had already placed a mark in the mind convergence pill so as to track his whereabouts, and his movements were currently approaching towards Zhongzhou. He then smiled faintly and felt like it was time for a change of plans. Perhaps he could find new prey. He then said to organize the trip. They would leave together in 3 days. Su Changge smiled happily at that, and said she would prepare it. When the room was empty of people, Gu Changge then said to Old Ming, if he remembered, he seemed to be from Zhongzhou as well. Old Ming respectfully confirmed his words. 30,000 years ago he ascended from Zhongzhou through the Azure Realm. When he had just entered the upper realm, he was weak at that time, and was forced to work as a mine coolie. But, thanks to the help of the clan head at that time, he was able to escape from that hellish place. Otherwise, he might have died long ago in that mine. Gu Changge understood. He then said, since they are going to Zhongzhou in 3 days, when the time comes, he can go see his family. Old Ming was very happy and thanked him. Gu Changge told him not to be so rigid. He thought that a small kindness like this could affect his movements and make Old Ming do anything for him. Why not? 3 days later, Zhongzhou, Central Heavenly City. At Doji Academy, in a classroom, there was a young lady teaching there. The young lady was annoyed when she saw a sleeping student. The student was named Lin Tian. He seemed to have fallen asleep a lot in her class, and the students around him were mocking him. It was really embarrassing for them to study at Doji Academy with a garbage like Lin Tian. If only he was not from the Lin family and his elder sister was not an elder in this academy, how could he be in the same class with them? They felt that Elder Lin was really unlucky to have a brother like him. The young lady then went back to wake Lin Tian up. Lin Tian then woke up, and suddenly babbled incoherently. The whole room laughed when they heard Lin Tian's babbling, thinking that he was babbling. Lin Tian was confused about who they were and where he was now. One of the students beside him then mocked him. Had he gone crazy from sleeping too much? He then told him. Here was the Azure Realm of the Zhongzhou region in the Central Heavenly City. Lin Tian was in disbelief when he heard that. He then felt very happy and realized that fate had other plans for him and let him take this child's body with his remaining soul. The young lady then slammed a scroll on his desk, and told him to stop playing around. If he couldn't break through the Spirit Sea Realm this month, he would be expelled from the academy. Even his family wouldn't be able to help him. The young lady then said seriously to him, he couldn't face his deceased parents with this kind of shameless behavior, and did he think he was worthy of being trained by the family? And the surrounding disciples laughed mockingly at Lin Tian. Lin Tian, instead of listening to her words seriously, he laughed, and said arrogantly, how could he be trapped in the Spirit Sea Realm? In half a day, he would be able to break through it. He then said to those who had looked down on Lin Tian, that he would crush them all. The whole room was shocked when lightning suddenly boomed in the sky. On a flying ship near the Hangzhou, the system rang. A new fortune chosen had been detected. Smilingly Gu Changge then said, he's here. At the old Ming family residence, in a temple-like place, there were many people already gathered there. The people there were confused when the great elder suddenly called them all there. The great elder then said that today he felt the presence of the ancestor. Hearing that, they were all surprised and asked if it was the ancestor Lin Ming who ascended to the upper realm 30,000 years ago. The great elder confirmed that the ancestor had finally returned, and the Lin family had hoped to recover. While still on the journey, Gu Changge was currently standing at the very end of the ship. He then asked the system how much fortune value Yi Chen had left. The system replied, 230 points. Gu Changge then asked again, talking about the fortune value backlash. It was actually because the difference between his fortune value and the fortune chosen's was too big, right? The system confirmed, as his fortune value increased, the backlash would gradually decrease. Hearing that, Gu Changge then thought, it seems that his presence as an unknown variable made it more difficult for the heavens to protect the fortune chosen. But he again wondered why his fortune value remained black. Was it because of his identity as a fated villain? Even so far all progress was still within his control. The new fortune chosen had appeared. It was time for him to re-energize. Su Changge then came to him. She saw Gu Changge, who seemed to be in a good mood. But Gu Changge was surprised when he saw his fortune value that reached 400 points. He then realized it was only natural that his fortune value had increased recently. It could be because of her. While embracing her, he said, it was only natural that he was in a good mood, because there was a beautiful woman beside him. Su Changge blushed slightly at that. Gu Changge thought that Su Changge seemed to still have some secrets that he didn't know yet. Since they had almost arrived at Dongzhou, he then asked Su Changge to tell him about the division of power there. Su Changge then explained that Zhongzhou was divided into 8 regions, with the central heavenly city being the most prosperous. The Taoist assembly organized by the third prince of the Daxia dynasty was also held there. Xuanhuan then came and said that this level of Taoist assembly might be to young Master Gu's taste, and asked him to take this as a joke. Su Changge realized that Xuanhuan's words had some truth. Gu Changge also thought that he would not be interested in such lowly things. In a tavern in Dongzhou, the citizens there were excited by the news that the Lin family ancestor had returned. They asked if it was Lin Ming, the strong man in the pseudo-god realm who ascended 30,000 years ago, but instead of the upper world restrictions having been closed thousands of years ago, they wondered if it was fake news. But one of the people there said that the news was true. He heard that the Lin family grand elder himself opened the ancestor hall and announced it. Yi Chen, who had been listening to their conversation, thought, if it wasn't for more important things right now, he felt that the Lin family residence would be a good place to stay. While holding a map, he said that their top priority right now was to find the ancient ruins recorded on the map. And Yi Chen was currently still thinking incessantly about Gu Changge. At the Lin family's ancestor hall, the family members there were surprised by the presence of Old Ming and Gu Changge. When they saw Old Ming, they wondered if he was Lin Ming's ancestor, but they were confused by who the young man in white robes sitting in the main seat was, because it seemed that Lin Ming's ancestor respected him very much. Since Old Ming had not returned for a long time, Gu Changge then told him to talk to them, and need not worry about him. But how could Old Ming do that? As a servant he could not put his master aside. Su Changge and Xuanhuan did not expect that there was a strong person like Old Ming beside Gu Changge. The Lin family members were stunned when they heard their ancestor claim to be a servant of Gu Changge. Knowing that Old Ming would be busy, Gu Changge then took the initiative to look around with Su Changge. The Lin clan members then showed respect when they saw Gu Changge standing. He then told someone named Xuanhuan to show the way to the two of them, because she was familiar with this area. Xuanhuan turned out to be the young lady who taught Lin Tian's class earlier. Xuanhuan then accepted her father's order. She quickly came to the two of them and saluted him. Gu Changge praised Lin Xuanhuan's name. He also saw Lin Xuanhuan's fortune value, which reached 200. Lin Xuanhuan thanked him for his praise. Gu Changge then asked if it would be troublesome for her to take him and Changge around. Lin Xuanhuan said that it would certainly not be troublesome. Suddenly, a deep pain arose in Lin Tian's heart when he saw them. He wondered if it was because of this original body's cursed obsession with his elder sister. He seriously said, he who had slaughtered the God King. Since when did his mind get affected by vulgar images? But he was then surprised when he saw Su Changge, who possessed the mysterious nine maiden physique. She was the perfect furnace he needed right now. With a grin on his face, he didn't expect the young master being talked about to be so lucky. It was a pity that such a treasure fell on him. Gu Changge smiled faintly. He was just planning to go out to look for a new fortune chosen, but unexpectedly he appeared alone in front of him. He also saw Lin Tian's fortune value that reached 500 points. But he was then confused. He had not done anything to Lin Tian, but why did he feel an aura of hostility from him? He wondered if it was because of Lin Kuai-yuan. He thought it was interesting. And the two of them both thought, I hope that you'll live a little longer.